Hello, I'm Gus Downing, publisher and editor of the D&D Daily, and this is the LP News Network. With us today is Mark Stinde, Vice President, Asset Protection at 7-Eleven convenience stores. Mark has held senior roles at Home Depot, Circuit City, and Sears Holdings Corporation. He started his career in 1988 with Mervyn's. Mark attended DePaul University and just completed his MBA at Southern Methodist University, Cox School of Business. As the Vice President, Asset Protection at 7-Eleven, Mark and his team are responsible for over 8,700 stores in North America. Since joining them in 2010, Mark and his team have redesigned and reinvented the AP effort there, including the design of a very specific program focused on the armed robbery issues they have had in the past, which led to this specific session entitled Building Partnerships for a Safe Customer and Associate Experience. Mark, thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Gus.
You know, Mark, your law enforcement partnership programs are much more defined than most. And I understand that last year you rolled out a program that's been very successful in managing and helping to solve a lot of the robbery issues in your organization. Can you walk us through them and give us a feel for how impactful they've been?
Okay. So you can think about a 7-Eleven store, a convenience store for any convenience store, and imagine we're 24/7. We're in neighborhoods that have different demographics, and we are, often at night we're kind of the light that folks come to after they've left the drinking establishment or they're headed home from work if they're going off second shift. And so with where we're at and with what our challenges are, as you can imagine, we have robbery issues in our stores. And so when I came to the organization, if you think about 7-Eleven, much of the robbery prevention procedures that are in place today, for most companies, 7-Eleven was part of crafting those procedures, from the lighting of our stores, from keeping cash levels low, from the height strips that you see in many locations across the United States, quick service restaurants, convenience stores. So when I got to the organization, it was a pretty defined and developed program, and yet we knew we could enhance it. We hired last year, or 2 years ago, I guess, we hired about 35 investigators in our business that help us with our organization. And one of the gentlemen, his name is Mike Aldridge, who was on my team, actually began every day in the mornings. He wasn't asked to do this. He began pulling up every robbery that had occurred from the night before, looking at patterns, MOs, what was going on in other stores where that person might have been in our store previously. He also started working with local law enforcement agencies to identify identify if there were trends similar to that or the MO similar to that in other businesses. And then as he continued on with that work, he started working with local retail consortiums and getting information from them. He really worked himself into a role in the organization. We promoted him, elevated his position, and now he champions that effort in the organization. So every morning he and several of our investigators pull up every robbery or critical incident that occurred from the day before, and they do that work. He's been able to solve, over 30 robbery cases that involved over 60 robberies, 30 individuals with over 60 robberies during that program that's only been in for about a year. So that program has been very successful for us. Along with that, he established a 7-Eleven email site, or email box that he has communicated out to all the law enforcement agencies. So if they need information from us, they're able to engage us directly. And that program has been great because it's opened doors for that two-way communication that we've been able to really leverage with law enforcement and the other retail partners that we have in the business.
So you've opened up an actual email for the law enforcement. Is it lawenforcement@7eleven.com?
Yes.
So it's actually easy to remember. It's their title, and they can communicate with you back and forth 24/7.
Yes, we've engaged with over 400 law enforcement agencies through that email address, with over 1,000 requests so far since we deployed that in August of last year.
How is that impacting the resolution case in the information sharing and such? I mean, what kind of increases are you seeing and so on?
Well, our big concern was just like in safety incidents, when you start to put a focus, you improve reporting. In some cases, we have robberies in our stores, a franchise location, that the clerk doesn't even call it in. And so this has helped us get better insight into what's going on in the stores. And as a result, we've seen some of the, the activity increase, and yet the resolution has improved as well.
You know, you talked about this program being successful recently as it relates to the Baltimore Riots. Can you give us an idea of the impact it had and how you leverage that technology in social media to monitor that situation?
Okay. So we deployed digital video systems in our stores, in every store in the company, and we networked all of those video systems from 2012, and I think we finished that project last year.
How many stores?
8,700 stores in North America.
And you put video on all of them?
Yes.
That's a monster of a project.
When I came to the company, they told me we had VHS systems, and I didn't even believe you could buy a VHS tape. At the time, I think there was one vendor out there that we were able to do that with. So we deployed video in our stores and remote monitoring to all those video systems.
Huge investment.
Yes, it was.
And how did you sell that to the executive management team?
Well, I think, first of all, our CEO is committed to safety in our stores. And it really took for us to really take to him a business case, or to the executive team, a business case that showed not only would we improve the brand because our robbery rates would go down, but we would improve lots of other areas of the business.
Right,
We'll potentially talk about gas cases today, gasoline theft that happens in our stores, other safety type incidents that happen in our stores, as well as fraud that happens in our stores. And so we were able to take a business case to them and prove the ROI to deploy those systems.
So since you've come in, you've added the 35, if I may be wrong with the number, positions. You've rolled out CCTVs in 8,700 units, and you've really built a law enforcement collaboration tool in order to increase efficiencies.
Yes, sir.
It's a huge investment.
Yes, sir.
How's the trends? I mean, how is the ROI for senior management, and how do they feel about it now?
It's really good. I think the big thing too is we looked for ways to leverage that technology not just for traditional loss prevention means. We use it for some of the marketing insights, understanding the people movement in our stores, and it's really provided some great tools. As it relates to Baltimore, because we started down that road. So when of course things started to occur in Baltimore, we made the decision, we asked some of our investigators if they would work overnight. And so for a period of 3 or 4 days, I believe it was, we were looking at 50 locations in the Baltimore area. We had access to all of the locations, and we were monitoring social media. Obviously, we've got a command center in our store support center where we are able to watch the live feeds from the media. And so our folks were on those store sites looking at video as some of the incidents were occurring, contacting local law enforcement so they could give them insight into which locations had the looting occurring. As well, they were able to, and there's a great story some of you may have seen in the, I believe it was a CNN video that showed one of the folks that was cutting the fire hose at the CVS when they were trying to put the fire out. We identified that person later in the evening, and we were able, looting in our store, contacted local police. They arrested him, and then we were able to call them and say, hey, this is the guy that was earlier at the CVS store cutting the hose.
That's adding value.
Yeah, absolutely.
You had a number of massive fuel cases. In this program has been adding value there as well. Can you explain what that looks like?
Sure. So first, we have an analytics team in the organization. Davina Stevens leads that for me. And the first thing we did, we knew we had a gas problem, and we knew that as an organization, we were losing a significant amount, millions of dollars each year in gas losses. Now the challenge there is expansion and contraction of gas happens depending on the temperature. And so there's some of that as a challenge in trying to really isolate where it's truly a theft case, and when it's just either an environmental issue that we need to solve, or if it's something specifically related to hot gas, is what we like to call it. Maybe that's a weird term.
We'll move on.
Yes. So we deployed an analytics solution that identifies and isolates where we truly have gas losses that are not related to the temperature or other issues. And so based on that, Davina then passes that information on to our investigations unit, and then they are able to go through and investigate. And initially they're pulling down video, looking to see, do we have certain vehicles that are going to the site, and we're able to identify that they're tampering with the pumps, and they're able to free flow gas. In some cases they are making makeshift tanker trucks out of vans, going in and with a pump, pumping gas out of the fill hole. So our team has resolved hundreds of $1,000s worth of gasoline cases, significant number of cases where we've worked with local law enforcement.
Which is utilizing the CCTV rollouts, it's utilizing the relationships you've built through this program with law enforcement, the whole bit.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, all of this has led to increased resolutions and franchisee engagement and safer stores. I mean, how are you communicating that to the public? What about the franchise group? And are these programs you've developed, are you getting that word out to the community? Because that's really the folks that need to know this is a safer place to shop, bottom line.
Yes. So we work with our public relations and government affairs group to try to get that information out through the different media sources. We report to the D&D, where we have something that's happened that we feel is good for the community to know. Internally, we have a magazine called Focus Magazine, where we communicate to the store support center employees, and then there's a magazine that reports out to franchisees, and we're able to educate them. So the difficulty for us is we're a compliance organization as well. So often we don't get great, high marks from the franchisees for some of the compliance work that we do. But this provides them insight into the good things that we do that are helping not only their specific stores, but the brand.
And their profit.
Yes.
Bottom line. So, you have some other programs like your Slurpee program that reaches out to the community and such. Can you talk about that? I mean, most often when you hear about the Slurpee program, there's kind of like, some giggles about it and, the value and questioning and such. What's behind it and the impact?
So this was rolled out long before I got there. It's over 20 years that we've been doing this. And basically the program's called Operation Chill. And what we do is we provide local law enforcement agencies coupons that are provide a free Slurpee to the recipient. And really the idea is that the law enforcement officer tickets the youngster when they see them doing something good. So whether they're wearing their bike helmet, or they're helping someone across the street, or they're doing something that's positive, we've provided these Slurpee coupons so they can go out and engage with a young person who in some cases is intimidated by that law enforcement officer, and they give them a Slurpee that they can come in and redeem in our stores. And we've gotten great, from a branding perspective, the community loves it, not just the law enforcement officers, but the community at large really loves that program.
That's fantastic. And it's 20 years old?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any other programs similar to that, or any other community outreach type, projects or processes?
Yes. So we do night rides in our stores where we're in the community. We wherever possible, we try to engage with Crime Stoppers. We do some charity events with Crime Stoppers. Really the key to a good law enforcement liaison program is at the local level. So our local folks are very engaged. In many of our stores, where the police departments would like to do it, we put in stations that they can go in and do their work. We provide a desk. We provide internet access for them to go in and do their work, do their reports, provide coffee and
like substations.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Last question. When you started at 7-Eleven, you really didn't have any C-store experience at all. And it's a very different type of retailing. Could you just talk about the transition a little bit from the aspect of giving an executive an advice who may be facing the same thing, changing retailers, changing channels, so to speak? I mean, can you give that executive some advice? Sure.
I think first of all, where you can, reach out to those that are already in that industry and try to understand what the challenges are. When I came to 7-Eleven, I knew that what worked for me at Home Depot or what worked for me at Circuit City wouldn't necessarily work for me at 7-Eleven, and quite honestly, I made mistakes. And the key there is you're going to make mistakes, and so when you make those mistakes, how do you learn from those, and how can you improve? I think the idea that you got to fit the strategy to the situation is something that comes into play here. You got to understand what is the issue, what is the current situation analysis in that business, and then what you've done in your past, you don't throw it away. It may work exactly as you have it. In some cases, it may need to be modified. But how do you come in and really understand what the business needs and spend the time to really understand the business? I spent 12 weeks in a store, ordering donuts, doing everything that an associate in our store or a manager in our store does. Worked the overnight. I rang on the register. To understand that business and understand how it was unique from the other businesses that I've been in before.
And every executive does that when they go to 7-Eleven?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, Mark, I want to thank you for taking the time for being with us today. And I also want to congratulate you on your recent MBA. I mean, you did that, while you were running this job or in this position, having a new child in the last year or so. I mean, you really doubled up and went out there and made it happen. Great example for everybody in the industry that needs to finish their degree or go get one. So I just want to congratulate you on that.
Thank you, Gus.
Okay. Well, that's it for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. And we want to thank Mark for sitting down with us, and thank you for watching. And until next time, let's keep them all safe out there.